The warm weather we've been having lately has really been giving me spring fever, so I decided to create this living grapevine wreath planter using some spring flowers in cool color tones. And I thought I would share this project with you guys in case you wanted to make one for yourself. So let's get started. The things you're going to need for this project are some plants, of course, a grapevine wreath, some hardware cloth or wire netting, soil, some moss. You can use loose moss or sheet moss, depends on the look you are going for. Step one is to attach the wire to the grapevine wreath. In order for a wreath to become a planter, we need to attach the wire to the wreath. And in order to do this, you need to cut the wire the same width as your wreath. The height will depend on the look you are going for. So for me, I wanted my planter to have a deeper basket. So I made mine longer, but I feel like it will look lovely no matter what size you use. In order to secure the wire, you're going to stick the ends between the grapevines. For extra hold, you can also use wire twisty ties, which is what I end up doing later in the video. But when attaching your wire, you also want to make sure you are forming it into the shape of a basket. Forming it into the shape of a basket will help create that planter shape that we are going for our plants. And you are just going to repeat that same process on the back. And here is how it looks. And you can see that it forms a basket shape, which is what we are looking for. Step two is adding your moss. And before applying it, I recommend soaking it in water for about 10 to 15 minutes. It needs to be moist prior to using it in order for the shape to hold when adding it to your wreath. I used a combination of sheet moss and loose moss to create the natural look I was going for. I just love using moss for projects. I feel like it gives everything a whimsical feel to it, just so gorgeous. I have so many projects planned using it, so be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one I do. But as you can see here, I'm just taking the moss and lining the wire basket with it until it is completely covered. And I also pushed some of the moss between the netting just to give it more of a secure hold until I add the soil into it. And to give the netting even more security, I went back in with some twisty ties along the front of the wreath and the back of it. And on the front of the wreath, if you don't want these twisty ties to show, you can go back in with some loose pieces of moss and cover it up. I decided just to leave the backside of the ties exposed just because you won't be able to see it. And this is why I think having a combination of the sheet moss and the loose moss works well for this project because you can easily fill in any gaps with the loose moss, which is exactly what I'm doing right here. And then I repeated the same process on the back of the wreath, but I used an older pack of sheet moss that was kind of browning, which is fine because the back won't be visible. And I'm just going back in and trying to form that basket planter shape that we need in order for our plants to go here. And the top of the wreath, I just folded it down under the moss just to make sure that the moss was more secure. You can see better here how I folded the wire down just to get the moss locked in place. And you can see that it looks like a basket in the inside. And this is where our soil is going to go and our plants. Step three involves adding your soil, plants, and other decorative details. And you can add as many or as little plants or items to your wreath as you want. As I said before, it depends on the look and feel that you are going for. So for me, I tend to gravitate towards the cool colors of spring, like the purples, the whites, the blues. So that is going to reflect in my color choices. So the plants I ended up using are violas, narcissus, hyacinth, a trailing vine, sedum. I feel like all of the colors reflect the vibe that I'm trying to create, which is the cool colors of spring. And you definitely do not have to add as many plants as I added in my wreath. You can go with one or two. I think no matter how many you put in here, it is going to look gorgeous regardless. And I decided to put a ribbon at the top so I can hang this wreath from a hook. And if you do decide to hang your wreath, I recommend using a heavy duty wreath hanger, something that can hold at least 20 pounds, because this wreath is quite heavy with the soil and the wetness of the moss. It makes it kind of heavy. So definitely use a hook that can handle the weight so it doesn't fall down. I also went back in with some Spanish moss to give it more of a spring feel. And here are a close-up of the two hyacinths that I used, along with the violas. And here is how the moss is looking against the wire. And my wreath is not going to stay here because my suction cup hook is not going to be able to hold the weight of this. I just put it here so you guys can see how it will look against a door frame if you decide to hang it there. But I just love the way it turned out. It definitely exceeded my expectations. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And let me know if this is something that you would try to do for yourself. I love moss projects, like I said before. I have so many more planned, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss those. Thank you so much for watching and happy gardening.